Yes, everyone. Right, this one's gonna be real quick. Yeah, real quick as usual when we lose because realistically, what's the point in being around when we lose? What's the point? Everything's just so toxic and negative. So, what I will say on the game though, on that is the first half was very negative. It was very bad. It was passive, slow, not aggressive enough. We didn't seem to understand the shape they had. We didn't seem to understand where the spare men were. And we didn't seem to understand where they created overloads. Man for man, they were better. Individually, they were better, whatever you want to call it. As a team, they were better. And they reaped the rewards by scoring goals. I mentioned in my previous video, in the build up to the game, about not allowing Adam Armstrong onto the last man. We did that twice in the first half, and they scored 2 from it. That's on everyone. That's a team display. That's a team mistake. Sam Byram and Liam Cooper's communication for that goal is shocking, and one of them has to deal with that little through ball that's gone straight through the middle of them. It's not good enough. You'll get punished. We didn't deal with what was in front of us. Not only that, us as a team, we're nowhere near the level we should have been. The level we have been recently. Nowhere near it. Nowhere near it, individually. In the second half, look, we had more of the ball. They sat deeper. They're 3-0 up. They can afford that. We had a little bit more class on the ball, but without real penetration at all. And in the end, the last 10, 15 minutes, we kind of became pass it to Ruter and Jorginho Ruter and allow him to do something. FC. Like we used to do in Onto. Got to get out of that mindset. Got to share the burden of the players going forward. We've got to be better, and we've got to be more consistent, and we have to understand our roles better. That first half, look, people can stand here and talk about individuals, and of course you can, but my job in this, what I do, how's it got to that point? How's it got to that situation? How's it got to the point where the guy can just play through balls through 2 defenders and allow the striker a one-on-one? What's the problem there? How's that come about? It's the same for every single goal. How did that happen? What in the build-up has led to the final product? Because everything leads to a final product. It's not good enough. It isn't good enough. Just serious. And then just on the people that say like, oh, you got too carried away. I don't care. I'm a Leeds fan. Getting carried away makes me happy. Why are people bothered about what other fans say in terms of how happy they are? The same people say you get carried away are the same ones getting carried away over loss. Hence why I'm not getting carried away over loss. So it does my head in. How can you say to one person you're getting carried away over win? That same person is then getting carried away over loss that said that. It's 1 win and it's 1 loss. What's your point? There's no point. There's a long way to go. We got this wrong. Everyone got this wrong. The players are not good enough. Tactically, obviously, through hindsight, it was wrong. They got it right. They had overloads all over the pitch in that first half. They were better individually, and we were not good enough. Not even remotely good enough. And this is where we have to understand now the level we have to reach when a team turns up against us and plays a different formation or likes to maintain the ball. How do we deal with that type of challenge? I'm not getting carried away, necessarily. You know, I've said in my build-up, I said in the thing getting away with it, look, they have good players. 3 or 4 of them players turn up, which they did today, they'll cause any team problem. We didn't deal with the obvious threats. The press was... I mentioned triggers, and that's how you press. There's a trigger and then you press. You don't talk, let's press. You know the trigger. You've trained, you've watched footage of the trigger. Once that trigger is there, you press as a team, you do it. It seemed we had like half a press. The trigger was there, wanted to go, but then slow down when they got near the ball. They didn't follow through with the press. It just allowed them 4 or 5 more touches on the ball, 2 or 3 more touches on the ball, and they just pass it around us in 3 passes. Because naturally, the way they played, they have a 4-3-3 at times, they had an overload in midfield. And we didn't adapt to that overload. Football's all about overloads, guys. That's how you beat teams. You overload a certain area of the pitch at any time. And that's what they did. We didn't do that. We didn't do that in the second half. We got more of the ball because Jorginho Rutter dropped deeper, which allowed us to get on the ball more. Tried to penetrate, but we couldn't. We got a bit desperate in the end. yeah, it wasn't good enough. It wasn't a good enough day. I'm not going to sit on Twitter all day and listen to the fact that Farker should be fired or any of that rubbish that people are going to talk about now because we lost a game of football. But as a performance, no, it ain't good enough. A team as well who, let's be real, have lost 4 in a row and have looked terrible. They were a different team today, though. They weren't them teams that I watched last week. They were better. And we didn't step our level up. We went down 10 levels from that Watford game. Down 10 levels. Not good enough. Not good enough at all. You got to compete. At least compete. At least make it difficult for teams to score, which we have been doing this season. But today, outclass. Tactically, they got it right. They created so many overloads, which give us issues, give us problems all over the pitch. We didn't deal with it. Not good enough. I don't know what else is to say. I'm just rambling at this point. But look, those fans that reckon this is the end of the world, those were the same fans that were saying after one win you can't over-exaggerate, but after one loss you're allowed to over-exaggerate. That just shows mentality of some people, not me. We'll get on with this. It's got a game on Wednesday. Big game against QPR. Got to be a win there now. We're serious, to be honest. We can't come off this loss and say, oh, a draw. No, got to beat them. The weekend, got to beat whoever we play. That's what it is. We've got to be serious about this. We've got to react to these situations. We've got to prove to the fans now that is just a blip. That is just something we got wrong on the day. We were not good enough. Individually, we were not good enough. Joe Perreault, I thought today. People talk about Liam Cooper too much. Look, yeah, Rodon will play next game. I will put my sword. I will die on that hill. Joe Rodon will play in the next game. So Cooper wasn't good enough. We conceded 3 goals. The defence was not good enough. Cooper was a big part of that. Joe Rodon will come in and play next game. That's not an issue. That's gone. The problem for me is my striker, whose touch was horrific for 90 minutes. And every striker and every player has bad games today, but he's had 2 or 3 of them. And I speak to Andrea, and it's right. Look, the type of striker he is, he's the type of player who, if he doesn't score goals, he isn't affecting a game. He had a chance to score, and he swiped it 2 or 3 times today, and his touch was off. He didn't affect the game in any positive way, unfortunately. The reason he did stay on and didn't make changes earlier is still because he does score goals, and it takes that one chance for him. And obviously, Patrick Bamford is not fit enough to play more than 10 minutes, hence why I didn't bring him on earlier, which I've seen people say, the same people that probably said Bamford shouldn't be playing. So, come on, look. That's it. That's what another thing about substitutions is about. They're too late. Yeah, but at the end of the day, look, you trust the players you have on that pitch because they're the team all week that you've been practicing these setups, practicing these tactics with on the pitch, on the training ground. You've been slowly going through different situations with these players. So these are the ones that have the opportunity and have the responsibility to pull off that job, and they didn't do it. That's why you don't make changes really at half-time necessarily so much, because at the end of the day, these are the guys that have been doing it at training. You can't just take the burden off them. It's their responsibility to step up, and they didn't. So that's why changes will happen next game. I'm sure of it. Starting with Rodon. We'll come straight back into that side. There's also a question now of the front 4. Who stood out? Who didn't? Does Jaden Anthony get a chance? He wasn't great when he came on. You talk about subs impacting a game. They didn't when they came on. They had 20 minutes and didn't do much. So, different situation though, isn't it, in the game? But yeah, that's all I've got to say. Mistakes were made, obviously, in the substitutions, or the timing of it, in hindsight, were not early enough. Probably should have happened earlier. But again, off the ball, forgetting substitution for a second, off the ball in the first half. The reason we lost the game in the first half, that's when we lost the game, not in the second, is because off the ball we were shocking. They have overloads, we didn't deal with it, we didn't adapt to it. Second half, you're 3-0 down, you can make changes all you like. It's going to be difficult to get 3 goals, isn't it? Especially when a team can then just sit. So, what you're making changes in the 20th minute when you're already 2-0 down, yeah. So, there's swings and roundabouts to everything, guys. It's not just dry. Look, we should have made changes. We wouldn't have won the game. It's not why we lost the game. We lost the game in the first half from shocking shape and just being passive and not aggressive. So, there's so many mistakes in this game. There's so many things wrong with it. But everything can be undone and everything can be turned right by a win during QPR midweek. That's where you can turn this right. That's where you can put in a performance. That was not good enough. That was not the level we want or expect from our team this season. That's not the level we've been this season. But yeah, that's all I've got to say. I'm going to go and enjoy my weekend. I'm not going to get over-exaggerated by this. Over whatever. I'd advise you guys not to. It's just a game of football. We won at the weekend. Everything was so good. Why is everything so bad after one defeat? Let's be reasonable here, right? It's one defeat. We have to react to it, come back better. Because we were outplayed and outclassed today. And look, Brighton got battered today. Brighton, who have been doing amazing this season, got absolutely demolished. Is that turning their season? Probably not. They'll come back from it. They'll adapt. Teams get demolished. It happens. Brighton, who are top side, happened to them. Happened to a lot of teams. We demolished in areas Ipswich. We found their weakness and exploited it and scored 4 goals. They've not lost since. They've battered teams since. It happens. It can't happen again. This has got to be that wake-up call. What went wrong? How can we change it? Work hard in the training ground to adapt to that and change that. And against QPR, come out an aggressive side with a purpose. And we'll be absolutely fine. But until then, I'm going to enjoy my few days. I've got some stuff to do. I just go on social media, guys. It's just pointless. But yeah, I appreciate everything as usual. Yeah.